Hey there, how's it going? I am MisterBo, and today we are doing the video that I think I have been asked the most amount of times to do, and I was kind of waiting until all the Grand Prix were over and we knew for a fact that we weren't getting any more tracks. And as you can tell by the title of this video, that is the ultimate list of worst to best tracks. Yes, I'm going to be ranking all 39 tracks in Nitro-Fueled, and I know a lot of people are probably going to disagree with my list, but this is my opinion, and these are the tracks that I do and I don't much like. Before we get into that though, I'm sure you've seen every other channel on YouTube doing this recently, but 81% of you guys are not subscribed. Only 18% of the people who watch my videos are subscribed. So if you're not already, click that subscribe button so you never miss a video. It really does help out. So starting off with number 39, we have Slide Coliseum. Slide Coliseum, pretty boring track if I'm going to be honest. The visual design of it is pretty bland and the layout isn't really anything special either. And that links us to number 38 as well, being Turbo Track. Now, I'll be honest, I've been playing Turbo Track a lot more often these days with the dev time trials. I managed to finally complete it, and I managed to master the S-turn with the U-turn mechanic. The only thing that really makes this track better than Slide Coliseum in my opinion is the fact that every turbo pad on this track is a Blue Flame turbo pad, and that's just a little bit more fun than Slide Coliseum. At number 37 is Mystery Caves, a track that I never really liked in the original CTR, and a track that I don't really like in Nitro-Fueled either. There's something just about it that I don't really enjoy when it comes up in an online lobby or even trying to do it in time trials. From there, we then have another pretty bland track in terms of its layout, and that is Tiger Temple. Now, it's got a pretty cool look to it, and I really like the idea of the shortcut that you have to open up yourself. I wish more tracks did that, but apart from that, there's nothing really much else going for it. It's kind of a bit of a boring track. The dev time super sucks, even though I managed to do it yesterday. It was an annoying one, and that's why it's so high up in this list. Now, number 35 on this list is Jungle Boogie. Again, most of the tracks high up in the list, they're there because their layout just isn't really that fun to play. I really like the style of Jungle Boogie, the fact that it's sort of like a version of Earth, but apart from that, there's nothing really much else that makes this track that exciting. I will play it, but it's not really a track that I'd choose to play. At number 34 is the OG, and that is Crash Cove. Now, I don't particularly like the visual style of this track, and I don't really like the layout of this track either. It's pretty boring, it's a pretty bland track. The dev time trial on this track super sucks, and when you play this track online against others, it's pretty much just a weapon spam fest. At number 33 is Crash Cove at Night, or as it's otherwise known as Inferno Island. Now, for some reason, I really like Inferno Island more than Crash Cove. Yes, the layout is even simpler, but something about the style of the track, again, it's set on Terra, it's at night. I don't know what it is, but I definitely prefer Inferno Island to Crash Cove. At 32 is our first DLC track, our first Grand Prix track, and that is Koala Carnival. Now, when this track originally got revealed in the trailers, it looked like it was going to be a super fun track. It looked like there was a ton of stuff going on. The visual identity of this track is unlike any other track in this game, but then we got to play it and it was kind of a boring layout. Yes, you've got blue flames and you've got a few obstacles to dodge here and there, but apart from that, there's not really much else going for this track other than the stuff going on outside of the track. At 31, we have one of my most hated tracks in the original CTR and in Nitro-Fueled until I learnt to actually maintain blue flames, but I probably still can't even maintain blue flames that well, and that is Cortex Castle. I really like the vibe of this track, it's super cool. I like the fact that they sort of teased Nina in this track before she even got added to the game, but I'm not very good at this track, and when I'm not very good at a track, I don't really like that track. So that's why Cortex Castle is number 31. At number 30, we have yet another Grand Prix track, and this was a track that I actually liked when it first came out, but the more I played it, the more and more I started to dislike it, and that is Mega Mix Mania. I like the whole Twinsanity vibe to it, and hopefully it is teasing that we are going to be getting Rusty Walrus, but apart from that, I just started to dislike this track and it's not really one of my favourites anymore. At number 29 is a track that kind of has a similar vibe to Mega Mix Mania, and that is Tiny Arena. I believe the longest track in the game, though don't quote me on that. The layout of this track is kind of cool, but the visual style is just a little bit boring. It's just a mud arena and there's not really much else to it. The only thing that kind of saves it is all the signs around the tracks for other kind of things in the Crash universe, whether that's other tracks or products and stuff like Wumpa Whip. At number 28 is the track that I used to get mixed up for Meteor Gorge, and that is Barren Ruins. Again, not one of the most visually exciting tracks, but I don't mind the layout. I like the bit at the beginning with the ice, I like the sort of section at the end where you have to dodge the robot crossing against the track, and I like the shortcut at the end where you hop over the wall. But again, it's a pretty basic track, and that's why it's only number 28 on this list. At number 27 is the Spyro Circuit. Again, a track, unlike Megamix, where I didn't actually really like it at the beginning. I actually hated it, but the more I played it, the more I began to like it. The only things that let this track down is, for one, the fact that people can leave items on the other side of portals, and number two, I'm not very good at it. At 26 is a pretty classic track, and that is Rouge Tubes. Now, I think they did an awesome job with making this track in Nitro-Fueled. It's visually one of the most striking tracks, but it is just a figure 8. There's nothing really much more to it. It's kind of a boring track in reality, and it's a lot of weapon spam when you're in an online race. At number 25 is yet again another short track, and that is Blizzard Bluff with that damn fence shortcut. Again, Blizzard Bluff doesn't really have much going for it. It's not a track that I really liked in the original CTR either, and that's why it's number 25 on this list. At number 24 is the track I used to get mistaken for Barren Ruins, and that is Meteor Gorge. Now, Meteor Gorge is one of the only tracks I actually preferred the look of it in the original game in CNK. It kind of had this more snowy vibe to what it does in Nitro-Fueled. From what I remember, there was actually like a sort of blizzard that you'd have to drive through, and I don't know, something about it I just preferred in CNK. I guess they switched it up so it wasn't as similar to, say, Polar Pass or even Blizzard Bluff, but with it being even a short track, it is still pretty fun, and it's actually got a pretty hard developer time trial in my opinion. At number 23 is a track that I think a lot of people might not agree with, and that is Drive Through Danger. Again, a track that I actually really liked when it first came out. People compare it to the Rainbow Road of Crash Team Racing because it's up in space and you can fall off the track, but I really like the style of this track, a drive-through up in space. It's got a really cool layout, something that I've been wanting from a DLC track for a long time, and we finally got it in the final track, but something about it, I've just grown to not like it as much as some other tracks in this game. A similar track to Drive Through Danger at 22 is Hot Air Skyways. Again, a track that you can fall off the sides, and it is even Pinstripe's home track, who is my favourite character in Crash Team Racing, but again, something about it, I never really liked it in the original CTR, and I never really liked it in Nitro-Fueled either. At number 21 is a track that I used to hate at the beginning of Nitro-Fueled, but the more I played it, the more I liked it, and then eventually when they added in the drift class, I actually managed to make it around this whole track with blue flames, and that is Electron Avenue. One of the coolest looking tracks in the game, completely different to how it looked in the original game, and it's got one of the funnest layouts as well. At number 20 we have yet another DLC track, and that is Gingerbread Joyride. Now yes, the layout of this track was pretty fun, minus that fence shortcut, which I always lose blue flames on. The idea of a Christmas track is, I don't know, it just doesn't really work when it's not Christmas. It's a cool track, but it's just not a track that I'd like to play that often, and that's why it's only 20 on this list. At number 19 is a track that I think probably most of you guys, if you've watched my streams and videos, thought would probably have been already on the list, and that is Prehistoric Playground. Now, having played this track a lot more recently in time trials trying to beat the dev times, I've actually grown to like this track a lot more than I used to. The thing that made me not really like this track is online races where everyone is trying to get those blue flames at the beginning. There's one turbo pad, and if you get hit or if you don't maintain reserves, that's pretty much the race over if someone does, and that's kind of why I never really liked this track, but in time trials, it's pretty fun. At number 18 is another pretty basic track, but something about this track I really like to play on, whether that's in single player, online races, or even in Ring Rally, Assembly Lane. And there's not really much else other than that. At number 17 is another track that I absolutely hated in the original Nitro Kart, and then I hated it in Nitro-Fueled to begin with, but having played it over the course of the last year or so, I've been beginning to enjoy it a lot more, and having just done the developer time trial on it, I'm actually a fan of it, and that is Thunderstruck. Plus, it's got one of the most visually striking looks to a track in Nitro-Fueled. At number 16 is another Grand Prix track, and I'm a fan of everything Halloween, so that is why Nina's Nightmare is at number 16. Yes, it's a pretty basic layout of the track, but with the spider in the middle of the track where you can decide which side it goes on, as well as the pumpkins leaking green ooze that can slow you down lap after lap, I think it's actually a pretty cool track. Now at number 15 is a track that I think most of you guys probably would have thought I'd put at like number 39, and that is Dragon Mines. Now I think Dragon Mines probably has the best soundtrack out of all the tracks in this game. I really like the look of this track, and it's a super fun track once you've either nailed down that U-turning or even the shortcut. I managed to do the developer time on it last week, and yeah, I think it's a super fun track, and I wish more people would vote for it in online lobbies. At number 14, again, a pretty basic track. It was fairly basic in the original game as well, and that is Android Alley. Again, fairly straightforward, but it's just a fun track, and that train is always a blast to try and dodge. At number 13 is probably the simplest track in the entire game, but for some reason it's still always fun to play no matter what, and that is Coco Park. They did an excellent job reimagining it in Nitro-Fueled. It's flower power overload, and it's always a blast. At number 12 is Clockwork Wumper. Again, a track that I didn't really enjoy in Nitro Kart. In fact, I went back and played Nitro Kart before Nitro-Fueled came out, and this was one of the tracks I struggled with when it came to adventure mode. I just couldn't beat the AI. However, in Nitro-Fueled, it's kind of a different beast, and it's one of my favorite tracks. I really enjoy it. I'm pretty good at it. I like doing blue flames the whole way around it, and I did manage to do the dev time trials just yesterday, in fact. So that's why Clockwork Wumper is number 12. At number 11 is a track that had a big part of it cut out in Nitro-Fueled, but it doesn't really lose anything from that part. It would have been nice if it had been added in, but it's understandable why. That is Hyper Spaceway. This track is a super fun track, especially if you can maintain blue flames around the whole thing, being able to get through that figure 8, managing to take that big jump shortcut, and even making it through the tunnel of lasers is always super satisfying. And then we get to the top 10, and this is probably where most of you will start to disagree with this list if you don't already. So at number 10 is Dingo Canyon. Now, from what I feel in the community, a lot of people don't really like Dingo Canyon, but maybe it's just the nostalgic feel of Crash Warped. I super love this track. You've got the little water bit where you can skip over and jump over it. You've got the armadillos to dodge. There's that section where you can either choose to go left or right. There's even the cactus shortcut, which the developer does in their time trial. And I think Dingo Canyon, while a simple track, is a super fun track. Now at number 9, we have probably the funnest track, Tiny Temple. Now, in the original CNK, I hated Tiny Temple because of the anti-gravity loop that you had to go through. I would always end up losing speed or crashing into a wall. But with that out the way, this is going to be the funnest track. It's literally just maintaining blue flames and zooming around it as quickly as possible. Yes, when it comes to the developer time trial, you've got to make sure you hit your lines perfectly, but in an online race, this is going to be the funnest thing. Seeing people hit those flames on the minimap, not sure if someone's going to hit that box as you're going through them, it's going to be just simply the funnest track for me. At number 8 is a track which I don't think you could have Crash Team Racing without, and that is Polar Pass. It's a classic. It's got probably one of the most classic shortcuts in the game, that wall hop, and then you've even got the corner shortcut, you've got the big boy shortcut, and you have that shortcut at the end where you can skip the blue flames pad if you've already got blue flames and take that corner a lot tighter. At number 7 is Oxide Station. Now this was a track that I really didn't like in the original CTR. It was pretty hard for me, and even in Nitro-Fueled it wasn't a track that I was extremely good at. However, over the last couple of months, learning how to take blue flames around the whole thing, being able to actually beat the dev time trial, I've been having a ton of fun with this track, and it's one of my top favorites now. Obviously, the look of this track is super unique and super cool as well, but that is why Oxide Station is number 7. Now, we get to the point where any of the rest of these tracks are kind of interchangeable. At number 6, you have Engine Labs, which probably should have been higher up, maybe number 5 or number 4, but there are some other tracks that I think maybe slightly outdo it for me. Engine Labs was one of my favorite tracks in the original CTR, and they did an incredibly good job of making it feel exactly like it did in the original in Nitro-Fueled. Obviously, you got the super turbo tunnel, which is always fun to go through, and it's not extremely complicated, but it's also not the easiest track. It's kind of got that middle ground, and I think that's what makes it so good. Now at number 5 is Sewer Speedway, and again, Engine Labs, Sewer Speedway, they're kind of interchangeable in terms of 6 and 5 here. Sewer Speedway obviously was better in the original CTR because the shortcut was a lot easier to take. The collision on the track, which they now fixed, the shortcut still sometimes is a little bit iffy, but Sewer Speedway again is just another sort of classic track for CTR, which I think again they did a fairly good job with, and I always have a fun time playing on it when people vote for it in an online lobby. At number 4 is the first Grand Prix track, Twilight Tour. Now, I super enjoy this track. My favorite of the Grand Prix tracks that came out, everything that came out after Twilight Tour just never hit the same mark as Twilight Tour for me. I don't really know what it is about it that I like, whether it's the theme of the Egyptian/Arabian Nights theme from Warp that kind of brings back the nostalgia that we got from Dingo Canyon. It's a super simple layout, it's got blue flames, it kind of has that similar vibe to Tiny Temple for me, where everyone's pretty much maintaining blue flames and it's just who can beat each other. So that is why Twilight Tour is number 4 on my list. So we get to the top 3, and there are some tracks that you're probably thinking, wait, he hasn't mentioned these yet. Are these really the top 3 tracks? And yes, they are. So at number 3 is Out of Time, yet another desert track. There's a lot of desert tracks in my top 10 here, but Out of Time was a track which I didn't really play that much in the original CNK. Obviously, they took out the sandworms in Nitro-Fueled, which I'm not really that fussed about, but it's just a super fun, again, it kind of has that same feeling as, say, Engine Labs, where it's not super complicated, it's not super easy, it's kind of got that middle ground. Yes, we lost the anti-gravity clock section, but I don't mind that. Again, I think it's just an all-round solid track, and I know a lot of people hate it due to the time trials, but I really like it, and I think it's a super solid track. Now at number 2, we have Deep Sea Driving, a track that I have really liked from day one in Nitro-Fueled. If you'd asked me, hey, do you remember Deep Sea Driving in Nitro Kart? I would have said, no, I don't remember it. That's the track you race Nash on? I don't really remember it that much. But when it comes to Nitro-Fueled, I super enjoy it. I know a lot of people don't like the blades in the tunnel, and yes, they fixed the collision on that a little bit. It's a super fun track for me. I don't know why. I think what makes it so good for me is the fact that it is a pretty challenging map, especially to make sure you have blue flames going around the whole thing. If you can go through that tunnel without hitting the turbines, it just feels so good. And while I haven't beat the developer time trial, I'm like 0.2 seconds off, it is still up there as one of my favorite tracks, and not enough people vote for it in online lobbies. So if you ever see it pop up as an option, vote for it. And that leads us to number 1. What is number 1? There's one track that I haven't mentioned yet. Do you know what it is? I know what it is, and that is Papu's Pyramid. Maybe a strange choice. I think most people will probably disagree with this option for their favorite track, but it was always my favorite in the original CTR. It was a pretty tricky track for me. I could never get that pyramid climb perfect. I would always hit into a wall and lose my speed, or I'd get eaten by one of the plants, or I'd miss the shortcut jumping onto the platform, or I'd miss the shortcut cutting the corner at the end. It was a pretty tricky track for me, but I really liked the look of it, this sort of old ancient temple, and you'd have to race Papu on it, and I think Papu for me personally was one of the harder bosses out of the bosses in CTR. Then when they brought it to Nitro-Fueled, they did an absolutely incredible job of just nailing the feel of Papu's Pyramid, bringing back all the shortcuts. I wasn't actually able to climb the pyramid without losing flames, dodge those plants, take the shortcuts perfectly. Papu was my second favorite character in CTR under Pinstripe, and sometimes if you match me online, I will sometimes be classic Papu in the default cart for him. I just really like Papu's Pyramid. I think it's an all-round solid track, and out of everything, if someone was to ask me, hey, you want to race in Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled, pick a track and we'll do it, I'd vote for Papu's Pyramid any day of the week. So there you have it. That is my list of worst to best tracks in Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled. Now, the truth is, none of these tracks are bad. I like all of these tracks. But if I have to put them in a rating, this is the order I put them in. Now, I'd love to know in the comments below, what do you think of my list? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Would you move some things around? Maybe let me know what your favorite track is and what your least favorite track is. And also in the comments below, let me know if you'd like to see more of these kind of videos. Maybe you want to see my list of characters rated. Maybe there's something else in the game that you want to see me put into a list, or maybe there's other ideas that you've been throwing at me that I just have ignored and haven't made a video on yet. Let me know in the comments below and I'll try my best to put some of them out over the next couple of weeks for you guys. If you did enjoy this video, then click the like button to show your support. I know this was probably a pretty long video, maybe around the 20-minute mark at this point, so hopefully you stuck towards the end. If you did, let me know in the comments below. If you aren't already, feel free to subscribe to stay up to date with all my future videos. There's going to be tons more gaming content and coverage over the next couple of weeks and months, and continuing on throughout the rest of the year. If you do, make sure you tap that bell icon so you're notified when my new videos go live. If you'd like to join my Discord server, we have an awesome community. The link is in the description below. You can come talk about Crash, Spyro, or tons of other games. People are really passionate on there, and it's just a nice, calm, small community. So feel free to join that. If you want to stay up to date with me and what's going on with the channel, then follow me over on Twitter at @IamMisterBo. Again, a link to that in the description below. Apart from all that though, thank you very much for watching and for hanging out, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.